Hello, and welcome to this episode of 49 Faithfully. I'm your host, Miriah Lee, and I'm joined by my co-host, Teran Lewis. TL, how you doing?
I'm doing good, and I want to warn the faithful here. Me and Mariah came into the show like Kyle Shanahan. We have no game plan. We're just gonna go ahead and wing it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if an NFL team can do that, then we figure why not? We can do it too.
Exactly.
So, week 8, we're going to put to bed week 7 and the mess that was, and we'll welcome week 8 with open arms.
Yeah.
Um, so the Colts, I guess that didn't end how you were thinking it was going to end.
Nope.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'll be a man and sit here and say that you were right and I was wrong. I had the 49ers winning 21-17 or 20-17, one of those two. I really thought that we can come in here and take a victory, especially because it was at home. But stupid me not knowing, we haven't won a home game since October 18th of 2020. But I really thought after the bye week they'd get it together a little bit and we'd be able to, go ahead and take a win at home. But yeah, I just we end up losing. So I don't know, as far as analyzing the game, of course, we come out with a great drive, promising, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is the game plan. And what pissed me off, though, even though I was happy we came out to the game plan, what pissed me off was my first thing that came to my mind was, why couldn't they do this for Trey?
Right.
That game plan was perfectly suited for Trey. We came out, rollouts, all this other stuff, and then I think what Elijah Mitchell had like 69 yards in the second quarter, and then you go away from that. So we deserve to lose that game. So um, I'm sick of these. I'm sick of these fans complaining about, oh, we didn't play good because it was the rain. The Colts play in a dome. They play in a dome. I don't want to hear this nonsense about playing in the rain. And Carson Wentz had no issues throwing deep. And I think what pissed me off too is my man Jamal in here. What pissed me off, we talked about this on Spaces, is like we look at all the teams. After we went 2-0, the Packers had injuries on their defense. Seahawks had injuries. Arizona had injuries. So it's like we're looking at all these teams and we're like, okay, we always think we're going to win because we have, the upper hand because, they're missing some key pieces on defense like Zadarius Smith and Eric Stokes, but we never attack the other team's weakness, which is
Right.
which is irritating. Like Colts were missing two corners and a safety. You couldn't throw deep and try to get PI calls yourself. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And then what's laughable is I was looking at practices this week and they had this headline like 49er secondary working on ball skills.
Yeah.
Something that you learn in junior high and middle school, high school. You learn to turn your head and play the ball, not the receiver. So that's my take from it. It's irritating, but it is what it is. I mean, 2-4. This is not a playoff team. I don't believe so. Those are my takes. How about you?
Yeah, about that. That was one of my notes too, is that they worked on that in practice, about the DBs and those pass interference calls. And it's like, we're playing the vets on the team. We're not playing the rookies for the fact that you think, the vets give us the best chance of winning or whatever it is at this point. And yet those are the ones that are getting the penalties, and you're having to dial it back to the basics in practice to get these guys ready so that they're not getting pass interference calls. So why not play the rookies? If the vets are in there, they're the ones causing the problems. They're not going to be, none of those guys are going to be on the team next year.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's just a liability. Put our guy, our rookies in there, let them get the experience like we've been talking about this entire time. And at least if they're making the mistakes, we're going to expect that from rookies.
Hmm.
And they'll be getting the reps and hopefully can do a better job in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that still blows my mind.
Yeah. It's
The way
funny.
that they have this roster going.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like they're treating the cornerbacks the same way they're treating Trey.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not ready. They're not ready yet. You saw that screenshot I sent you earlier about D'Amico Ryan's. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't think Deommodore Lenore and Ambry Thomas are ready yet. They're I don't know how he worded it. Here, let me take a look real quick. The way he worded it was just ridiculous. I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, like it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. DC Ryans on rookie DBs. Dominic Lenore and Ambry Thomas neither had defensive snaps in September. And then this is the quote from D'Amico Ryans. I expect Lenore and Ambry to compete and fight to be better and work on their technique. Yeah, so they can have the opportunity to be up for a game. I mean, you don't think that they'll go on to make the same mistakes as Kirkpatrick and Josh Norman? Like, there's not going to be any difference. That's just what blows my mind. Just like you said, it's like they're treating them just like they are with Trey. It's like let them get in there and do their thing. If there's going to be mistakes on the field, let it be them.
Yeah. It's like
So
how bad are these guys that you guys drafted this last year if they can't do better than what we saw on the field this past week?
yeah,
I mean, from the offense to the defense, top to bottom, that game was sloppy. The penalties are ridiculous.
yeah,
And like you said, the other team was playing in the rain as well.
hmm,
So as much as they want to try to use that as an excuse, you had all week to plan in that rain.
hmm,
You just came off of a bye, and it looked like you were on a short week. You
for
know,
sure.
you would think that we weren't the home team. There's definitely no home field advantage in that place.
No,
It's like I feel bad. I honestly feel bad for the faithful that traveled and sat through that disaster of a rainstorm, whatever they're calling it,
hmm,
and had to watch that.
yeah,
At least if you're going to sit through the rain and everything, watch, be rewarded with what you're watching out there.
absolutely.
Like they should be ashamed with what they're putting on the field right now.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing people on Twitter, traveling from the East Coast, people traveling from Ohio and New Jersey and all this stuff to go out there and see a mess, like just super sloppy. That's just, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. Um, One thing from the pressers that I had wrote down was that they had asked, and this was from yesterday's pressers, I believe, they had asked Shanahan, are you do you expect that your star players should be playing, like star players, or like what are you expecting from your star players and whatever, and he goes, well, Debo's been doing some good stuff, and a big hit losing Raheem. Bosa's getting better each week. Bosa's been pretty unbelievable. You always want star players to play like star players every week. And then he pauses. You want your star players to play like star players every week. Those
Mhm.
are the only three names that he brought up.
Of course. Yeah.
No Kittle, Fred,
Yeah.
so Bosa's the only star on the defense that's playing like a star, in other words.
Yeah. That's pretty much
And
what Kyle's saying.
and Debo's doing good stuff. And
Mhm.
now Debo's hurt. So,
Yeah, he has a calf injury, huh?
yeah.
And it's like, and two, it's like, you bring up, Kyle Juszczyk or whatever the case may be. Like you have more than those guys on your team who make plays and stuff. So I don't know. Kyle, I think he has literally lost his locker room. Like I don't know. I don't even know if the players even trust him anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just getting to a point where it's like it's laughable but frustrating at the same time. It's like, you know, it's funny. What's up, JV? I know you don't ever get on to speak, but I see you on Spaces every night when we're on there talking, and there's a lot of people on here who get on the Spaces like Pinor and Jamal and stuff like that. We get on there and we talk, but it's just like this team just doesn't have any dogs. Like they don't have that leadership that we have on here. The leadership qualities. Like we don't have that player that pulls people aside and at least like intimidates people or whatever the
Right.
case may be. Like, and it's not about trying to scare somebody, but it's just holding people accountable. I feel like we have a lot of people who are kind of passive and are just like rah guys, and you don't have that Patrick Willis or that you know that Justin Smith or whatever case may be that we used to have, that'll sit there and be like, look, man, we're playing like dog crap. We need to go out there and take care of business. But it seems like we don't have that guy. And I think you made a point too. You were like, after we lost Sherman and DeForest Buckner, there's no leadership,
Yeah.
and I understand like leadership is kind of hard. I feel like it's one of those things that you really can't teach. Like I think you can teach people to be like a manager type thing, but like a leadership quality to have that in you, that fire in there to lead people. It's either you have it or you don't. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like, I mean, there's people too, like, even in my job, I'll sit there and tell them like, hey, maybe you need to do this and that. You need to be more assertive, whatever the case may be. Some people just don't have that in them. So when you learn that, you just don't expect that from them. But it starts from the top. Kyle and John and Adam Peters need to be more involved and going on and seeing what's going on with this team. But it's not there. The team is in shambles in all phases. Like the team is playing like crap. I had posted on Nothing But Niners. Mike was like, "Why are we losing?" I was like, "Lack of discipline, lack of leadership, and lack of execution." Like those three things, you're not a good football team on paper. On paper, we look good, but when it comes to being on the field and what's going on behind the scenes, it's just in shambles and it's frustrating. And this team is pretty much laughable at this point. I mean, coordinators are coming in like, oh, well, you want to beat the Niners? You want to get free yards? Just throw deep on them.
Yeah.
Just throw deep on them because we're gonna get. And it's funny because those refs were flag happy when we played the Colts because I think because of the conditions and stuff. You
Yeah.
you take zero shots down the field to try to get that. It's just I
Right.
don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. And another in the pressers today, McDaniel. It's like I don't see that this team can get better because I don't see that anybody is taking accountability for anything. It seemed like the coaches want to sit up there and keep acting like everybody is doing well, except for their, few players that we know, the ones that they throw out there. But everybody else is doing well. Like McDaniel wanted to sit up there today and say, Jimmy was playing really well and then he got hurt and then he played, in one game in the rain. It's like, again, back to Jimmy was playing really well. Like Jimmy wasn't playing horrible prior to him getting hurt,
Mhm.
but by no means was he playing very well.
Not at all.
So prior to him getting hurt, Shanahan sat up there and said Jimmy had a great game. Jimmy played well, and now it's coming from McDaniel too. So it's like they're satisfied with what Jimmy's giving them. I mean, like I'm not understanding because anybody with two eyes that knows anything about football can clearly see that this offense and I mean there's more problems than just Jimmy, of course, but can clearly see that this offense is limited by Jimmy Garoppolo.
Most definitely. And then too, of course, I watched the game live, and then, when you're watching that live, you see stuff, but you don't get to see everything.
Right.
But when I rewatched it and, because I can pause and stuff like that and see what's going on, you see a lot more stuff when you watch it a second, third time, whatever the case may be. And there was like 3 or 4 touchdowns left on the field. So I kind of give Kyle a pass a little bit because I don't think, everybody was like, oh, he's not calling a good game. He called a pretty decent game because if
Yeah.
you look at it, there was some. I mean, you had some new Ayuk. There was some receivers open. Ross Dwelly was open a few times, so it's Jimmy. Like he's not executing this offense. So for them to come out and say Jimmy's playing well, I feel like they all. It's funny. I feel like management has had a meeting amongst themselves and they're all pretty much agreeing to answer the same way. Like we're all gonna go out there and say Jimmy's playing well. We're all gonna go out there and say X, Y, and Z. Because I feel like same thing with the Ayuk thing. They're all saying the same thing. Ayuk needs to be better. You talk to John Lynch, same thing. Kyle says the same thing. So I feel like they're in one accord when it comes to that because they're not saying anything different. I mean, look at the D'Amico Ryan's quote. He's saying the same thing about just players on his defense.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, they're not ready. They need to get better. And like, come on, man. Like, so there's something. I think there's something going on where I feel like they're giving everybody the same exact answer, so they don't look dysfunctional. But nobody's stupid. We can see you guys are dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't know. I just don't understand what's going on here. So.
Shanahan mentioned he kind of had like some cryptic talk about Trey Lance this week in his presser. And he kind of made it seem that if Trey Lance hadn't got hurt, that he would have started or had a lot more playing, in that game after the Arizona game.
Hmm.
And also going into this, this last game with the Colts, I thought it was mentioned that Jimmy was, pretty healthy. That's why he was playing. Trey wasn't
Hmm.
playing because he was hurt. And that's another excuse that Jimmy wants to go, throw as soon as this game was over. Oh yeah, about his injury, the
Hmm.
rain, the the gloves, the whatever. So it's just like the constant excuses that he makes for himself and that the coaches are making for him.
Hmm.
And that goes back to the Colts had no problem. Of course, Carson Wentz didn't play great in the first half. He had turnovers and wasn't he wasn't playing horrible, but by no means was he great. But he came out
No.
in that second half and they put together the game plan at halftime. They made the adjustments they needed to make, which is something that I don't see that our team's doing at all.
At all. At all.
And
No
they came
adjustment.
out and they finished that game, and it's like that's something we're not getting from the Niners. And it's like it goes back to, well, if the coaches don't see that they're doing anything wrong, how can you fix anything?
Hmm.
Shanahan can sit up there and say all he wants. Oh, I can understand why you guys are mad, but then at the same time, he goes back to, well, we were 1 year ahead of time. When we went to the Super Bowl, and we've had injuries, and then COVID, and it's like that's stuff that the whole NFL is dealing with.
Hmm.
Every single thing. Like enough's enough with the excuses for their players that aren't playing up to the spot that they should be playing,
Sure.
whether that's contract wise, whether that's because they're the all-star players on the team. But I mean, it's like from top to bottom, coaches, Jed, John, the players, it's like nobody is, like, I feel like nobody is serious about anything right now.
Hmm.
Like the players get up there and it's like their pressers are like Fred's presser today. I've never seen him like look and sound like so just, yeah, yeah,
Like
just
lifeless,
like,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like crazy. So it's like last year they threw in CJ Beathard because he provided a spark in the offense. That's what Shanny said. He needed a
Yeah.
spark. But obviously we need something. Do we not need a spark right now? Like Trey, when I seen him out there practicing, didn't look like he was hurt to me,
Oh, he looked good. His
right?
movements, everything. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so you're telling me he can't go out there and play? That he's too hurt to go play? Like, I'm not buying it. I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't know if you watched all the pressures this week, or if somebody in the chat that can help me out. But like, you look at somebody like Jalen Moore. He went out there and balled. Like, and I don't know from what I mean. I don't know if he said it, but I didn't hear any kind of like, oh, Jalen Moore looks great. He
No,
went out there as a rookie. He balled. He went in for an all-star, Pro Bowl left tackle and Trent Williams, and it pretty much didn't skip a beat. I think he had like one penalty, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like if you want to lift your team up, those are the things that you do and the opportunities you get to lift up your team. So Jalen Moore can be like, oh man, it's just I don't know. It's one of those things where it's crazy. But yeah, and I blame Jed York too. It was funny. We were once again we were talking last night, and there was a guy on there who brought spaces who brought up like Jed York, and he was just like he brought up Jed York and then Jerry Jones. He was like, we got to pick and choose our battles, people. You got people like Jerry Jones, who's all up involved in the situation, and people give him grief, but then they give grief to Jed York when things ain't working well and he's not in the mix. Well, there's a couple ways to look at this. I agree. A owner should be able to trust who he puts in place. So he should have been able to trust John Lynch, Adam Peters, and Kyle to do their job. So if they're doing their jobs, there's no reason to intervene. But this is my business. If there's an issue, I understand I need to scale back and let you guys handle it. But if your decisions are hurting my business, I'm stepping in.
Yeah.
And so with the fact that, like I don't know if he has, but the fact that, and Jed York, he's like a wimp anyway. He's pretty passive, the way he talks and stuff. He don't take responsibility either.
Yep.
But so it comes down from the owner. He don't even take responsibility for stuff. So if he's not sitting down, stepping in and trying to get his guys to get on one accord and be functional and stuff, then it's on him too. Like it's a domino effect, like you and I talked about. Like it starts from Jed. He needs to be on top of these guys doing this and that. I don't have to micromanage you and be on top of you and wondering what's going on if you're doing your job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then some guy was like we look at Jerry Jones, how he knows football. Like he can tell you plays and he does some scouting and stuff like that. Like Jed York don't know anything. And
Right.
I'm just like, how can you own a business like that when you know zero about football? And somebody was like, well, Jed doesn't know how, he shouldn't have to know football. He should just be able to hire somebody and cut checks. I don't agree with that. There is no way I'm going to own a business and not know at least the ins and out of how it runs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a flat out mess right now. But I think I heard Kyle take responsibility for the first time when he admitted to making a mistake. But I think Kyle likes to go to bat for his guys because he's so egotistical. He doesn't like to be wrong.
Right.
So I think that's what Jimmy played well, and I think I mean, going off subject here, that's why I truly feel like somebody like a Jalen Hurd is on this roster. His ego's getting in the way. I'm going to show you that he's going to be a good player instead of doing what's best for the team. So this team is it's an absolute mess. I think you, I, and everybody on this chat could probably do a better job right now than what's going on over there in Santa Clara. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, the only bright spot of this week 7 game, I think, was Wish.
Yeah.
like that's the only. I mean, and well, I
Elijah
shouldn't say
Mitchell
that.
too, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Elijah
I
Mitchell.
mean, there were a couple, but I mean, other than that, it's like the players, the star players, the ones that are healthy, aren't
Mhm.
executing. They're not going out there and doing what they need to do. Jimmy acts like Debo's the only person he can see,
Oh my
except for Hasty
gosh.
on third downs. Yeah, why are we throwing to Hasty on every third down? Going to Hasty on every third down. That somebody that hasn't been practicing, somebody that
Mhm.
had been hurt, their first game back, and yet you have Ayuk, Sanu
Mhm.
wide open, and we keep going to Hasty.
Cool. Yep.
Like, it's
Yeah. I mean, the man hadn't played since the Lions game, and you come out and you put him out there, and you're dependent on him. And there's no knock against Hasty,
right.
because he's only doing what the play is called. But why are you drawing up plays to get him the ball on third down? That doesn't make sense to me.
And then you keep doing it.
Yeah, and when Elijah Mitchell is your best pass catching running back, shoot, if anything, if you're gonna dial that play up, why don't you dial that up for Kyle Juszczyk,
Yeah.
who has amazing hands coming out the backfield? Like, why are you giving it to Hasty? Why wasn't Kyle Juszczyk using that situation? It's just,
Yeah,
it's just
there's just
flat
so
out.
many questionable things
Yeah.
about that game, about the first part of this season that we've seen.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a mess. Like, I'm at a loss for words because I'm just so shocked that I turn on the game and see what I see every week.
Mhm.
And then still listen to these pressers and hear the things that are coming out of these guys' mouths. Just like, are we all seeing a completely different team than what they're seeing? Like, I don't get it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And you know what, too? Like, everybody would respect Kyle so much if he just went up there and said, you know what? Like, I'd give him a pass even. If he sat out there and say, you know what? This team is dysfunctional right now. We've made some bad decisions. I can I can ride with you for that. I can
Yep.
be like, you know what? He manned up. He admitted his mistakes. Okay, cool. So what are we gonna do going forward? You know what I mean? But the fact that he never takes responsibility just makes me not trust him. That's why I don't trust what we do going forward. I don't trust anything about what we're gonna do in the draft, what we're gonna do in free agency, what we're gonna do of developing Trey. Like I
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable with none of it.
Yeah. And so all that mess that we just watched in week 7, and then we have an injury report the size of who knows
Yeah.
every day. Then I heard today Bosa didn't even practice.
Yeah.
So it's like every day there's more and more people are added to the injury report.
Yeah.
So I mean that's not helping anything. The only thing that's gonna hopefully help is get the rookies on the field and get
Yeah.
some play, But other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of scared to see what we're gonna look like going into Chicago, honestly,
Mm.
because I mean they've done nothing to show me that to give me anything to be hopeful for.
Yeah. True.
At least if he told us, Trey's starting, then we have something to look forward to at least. You
Yep.
know, like like I don't have nothing to even look forward to Sunday, to turn on the game, honestly.
Yeah, same. I mean, you look at the way they played this last game, and I heard it's supposed to be the same type of weather in Chicago. So it's supposed to rain there too. So what's the what? We're gonna have the same type of game plan? Like what's gonna go on here? If I'm Justin Fields, yeah, he's been struggling, but I'm like, you know what? I'm throwing deep on you guys every chance I get. At least it's gonna move the ball for me. You know what I mean? Like it's just I just don't know. True, I agree, Miss Debbie. It's just
Yeah.
cannot execute. That's exactly what the issue is. Can't execute at all. But what do you? But honestly, it doesn't surprise me we're not executing because they're taking away our starting quarterback's bread and butter. When the man can't throw outside the numbers, when the man is known for just throwing between the hashes, and you take that away, how are you expect to execute?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're right, Miss Debbie. I just saw that too. He had a vet day off. But yeah, yeah. So Miss Debbie is on it. Yeah, it's crazy. No execution at all. None.
Um Kind of hitting on the injury part. How do you feel what's going on with Kinlaw? And have did you see like whatever he had posted on social media and that whole thing? And
Yeah,
like, do you think that plays a part into what's going on with this whole injury thing right now?
for sure. Well, this is the thing too. So this is why I say the players don't even trust our team. He don't even trust the 49ers medical staff. He's in LA to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's going to go get a second opinion because they don't him and his agent don't trust our medical staff, that's saying something. But like we all have mentioned before too, we sit here and we look at all the players who stay home to rehab, and nothing ever seems to get better. But then you got Nick Boza, he rehabbed in Florida on his own, and he's looking good out there. So
Yeah.
something has to be said. I feel like everybody in that building, it felt like there's changes that are being made everywhere. Medical staff, Parag Marante with the contracts. I feel like everything in that organization is a mess. Like we don't have any stability anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if you're, I mean, I'm sure these team doctors get paid a heck of a salary. And I'm sure they're not, I'm sure they're professionals. I know what they're doing. They've been dealing with athletes their whole career. But the fact that you tell Javon Kinlaw, you're probably gonna have surgery, shuts you down, and he's like, nah, let me go get a second opinion. That's saying something. So that tweet or Instagram post, whatever he did, does not surprise me because it does have I feel like the tweet and him going down to LA go hand in hand. He's not happy with what's going on in an organization.
Yeah, and it's kind of surprising because we haven't really seen it since, Kyle and John have been there. We haven't really seen players speak out or voice their opinions in a negative way while still on the team. Like our players like aren't in social media, like running their mouths too often. Like there's some players that are always have something to say, always saying something. And we haven't really seen too much of that. And then now we see that, a couple messages that Kinlaw posts that are kind
Mhm.
of okay, can be taken, a couple different ways. But, I think it's safe to assume that, we know what they're talking about. And now, he's going for a second opinion.
Yeah.
So it would only lead me to believe that, yeah, he's definitely not happy with either the team trying to make him play
Hmm.
and he tried to make him play through injury, or vice versa. He's trying to play
Yeah.
through injury and the team's trying to shut him down, one way or the other.
Hmm.
It doesn't seem, like the team and Kinlaw are on the same page at all.
Yeah. No. Not at all. And it's kind of, and I just feel so bad for the kid because, he's always going to be, what's the word I want to use? Like labeled or put in the same category as DeForest Buckner.
Right.
And that's what sucks because it's not his fault. We had talked about this before. It's like, and here's my thing too. I want to go back to the medical thing. He missed, he missed the combine because it was reported. I mean, it was all over ESPN, NFL Network. Top 10 pick Javon Kinlaw possibly sliding in the draft because of knee tendonitis. There was even reports that teams took him off their draft board because they were so concerned. So once
Yeah.
again, what's up with the medical staff? Like if I'm the medical staff, I'm telling John and Kyle, you know what, this is not a good pick. We did our research on him, X, Y, and Z. So is it because the medical staff didn't speak up? Or did Kyle and John just say, "Well, I don't care what you guys say. I don't care about the medical. For some reason, I think he'll automatically just get healthy if I draft him. That's not going to go away just because you put him on your team. Then you sit here frustrated about the situation and him not playing and him not being able to fly 3 hours without his knee swelling up.
Right.
So the communication in this organization is not where it needs to be either. Because like if you and I were the team doctors, I'm telling you guys, look, after all our evaluation, these 10 players should not be on your draft board. Or, you had a second round grade on this guy, put him down to like a fifth because, don't gamble on him so high because of the injury. So the fact that this communication is not being done is an issue for me. So, like I said, just the whole building itself, the locker room, the coaching staff, just whatever the case may be, even the janitor probably having some issues. Like some, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing. Pine Nor, Kano, let me save you the time. No, it's true. And then, what's sad about it too? Somebody, I think it was Ted. You know who Ted is, right?
Yeah.
His dad was a surgeon. So he was saying that, he was talking to his dad about Kinlaw, and the more you have that surgery, because he already had surgery on it once. He already had surgery on it once. So if he has it again, every time you have that surgery, it gets bone on bone. So
Yeah.
him having the surgeries are just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. So it's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they do him right. Like honestly, if it is that bad, the team sucks right now. Just shut him down for the whole year. I'll see you on OTAs. Like let him have a surgery, let him heal. But and then and Pine Nor, it's sad though. They're gonna probably end up treating him like that about him being Kenton Bomber, but it's not his fault. You know what I mean? It's like he didn't be asked to be picked number 14 over 13 or whatever it was overall. Like
Right.
they didn't do, and then John's always talking about doing his due diligence. Well, obviously not because you're picking these players, either trading for them, free agency pickups, and draft picks that are injury prone. So your due diligence comment sucks, and it has no kind of heat behind it because it's not looking like you are doing your due diligence.
Yeah. I mean, and this is true. We know that Balky went after all these injury, players with injury histories, players coming off of injury, and the team has not done any difference since he left.
None. Same
You,
approach. Same
yeah,
approach.
yeah. The injury, the problems with the team being injured throughout the season, going
Mhm.
after the injured players, everything with injury that was there with Balky is still there.
Mhm. Well, it's funny. I think I told you before. It's like I think last year is when I started losing faith in this organization, and now it's just putting the icing on the cake. But I think I told you like so. There's this pet store I go to here, and the cashier was a Chiefs fan, and it was like the same day that D Ford had got traded to us. And then he saw me with my 49er gear on. He was like, "Oh man," he was like, "I see you guys traded for that bum D Ford." He's called him a bum. I was like, "Nah, man. He just Pro Bowler once again, giving this regime the benefit of the doubt." But he told me he was like, "You're gonna be disappointed. He's always hurt, boss." He was like, "You watch and see what I tell you." But me not listening and being like, "Oh no, I think John and Kyle know what they're doing." And sure enough, he was correct because D Ford has given us nothing. I mean, all 2020 he was injured. So it's like,
Yeah.
we're sitting here and we're making these decisions, and there's nobody to point the finger at but yourself. You need to look in the mirror and just say, you know what, I'm screwing up. What can I do? Like, do you even want to be here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I question that too. It's like
Yeah.
I question Kyle. Like, does he even want to be here? His body language and his approach to how he's handling stuff seems like you want to get fired. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, exactly what I've been thinking. Like, are you trying to get fired? Are you trying to, have their mutual parting? Like,
You know what some guy at
I
work
don't know.
you know what some guy at work told me today, because he's a 49ers fan too, and he was making a good point, and I was like, man, like he's what the conspiracy theory things, and he was just like, you know what's happening, because there's been talks of the Vikings coach being fired. He was like, you know what Kyle's trying to do is trying to get fired, so if the Vikings coach gets fired, he walks into that job and has his plan he always had in Kirk Cousins. I was like, man, I didn't even think about that, but it wouldn't shock me.
Right. Yeah. At this point, the only thing we can think is these conspiracy, theory ideas, because they're doing such questionable, crazy things, and they're not telling us any different, So it's like, that's all we can do is think of how. And at the end of the day, it might not be such crazy things once, everything comes out in the end.
Hmm.
What does come out, the stuff that we
Yeah.
are able to find out. Speaking of trading, the trade deadline's coming up.
Hmm.
I know it probably will be handled, a little differently depending if we win against Chicago or if we lose. But regardless, who's some players that you think would be possibly up for trade?
Well, initially I was on the Mike McGlinchey thing, but then we picked up his 5th-year option back in May, and I think he's like a $13 million cap hit or something like that. So I took him off. But there's two players who I think, who, if they'd call and ask me, give me a serviceable deal, then I'm taking it. One is Tart on a 1-year deal. He's only making like $800,000, but I think he got put on IR, but I'm not really sure. I don't know if he is on IR for sure, but I know they say he can miss a couple weeks. But if he's trade eligible for not being on IR, if somebody calls and say, "Hey, I'm giving you a 4th round pick or whatever for Tart," I'm taking that.
Yeah.
I'm taking that all day, because then you put in Talanoa Hufanga and let him start the rest of the season.
Yep.
Let him take all the snaps going forward. So that would shore up one thing, and two, one or two players, because so Aziz Al-Shaair and Drake Greenlaw came in at the same time. They came in the same year. Obviously, Drake Greenlaw drafted 5th round. Uh, Aziz was undrafted, and I
Yep.
feel like the way that Aziz has been playing, he's been playing well. And I don't think, with the money we're gonna have, everybody says, oh, we're gonna have a lot of money because Jimmy's gonna be let go. Well, majority of that money's gonna go to Boza.
Yep.
Jimmy making 27 million, Boza's making at least 22. So you can just take that out the box. That money is not as it's going to be as free as we thought. So what I'm gonna do is, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey," just because Aziz has been playing well, and so we still have Flanagan Falls and all that, and I trust D'Amico Ryan's with his linebackers. I feel like if we can
Yeah.
pick one up either in the draft in 2022 or free agency, because D'Amico Ryan's was a Pro Bowl linebacker for the Texans for so many years. I feel like he's done a great job with these linebackers, because he was a linebackers coach from Fred Warner, before he got promoted. So if somebody calls and says, "Hey, let me get a third off you. I mean, let me get Dre Greenlaw off you for a third," I'm taking that too. I know a lot of
Yep.
people don't agree with that, because they think, well, Dre Greenlaw's he's a beast, but I think Aziz shows that he's pretty expendable, and I think we can just draft somebody next year, bring in somebody, and I think we can get a third for Greenlaw, because remember that guy we had last year that came into camp? He was undrafted, and then we cut him, and then this year he came back. He balled out in preseason.
Yeah.
Jonas Griffith. We traded him to Denver for a 5th, an undrafted guy. So, and he's obviously not as valuable as Greenlaw. So, to get some more capital, if Drake Greenlaw is being offered, or even if they say either or, let me take Aziz, either one of them, I'm giving, because I don't think we can pay both of them.
Yeah.
So, those are my two players, 2 or 3 players that I would give up if somebody were to come calling.
Yep, those are the first two players on my list as well. I mean, depending, I would say if we lose against Chicago, there's not too many players that I'm saying are off limits. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a few, but as far like Greenlaw, Tart, Shark, Dwelly,
That's
Armstead,
another one too,
Kittle,
Shark.
clear the house. I mean, if this team is looking like we're not doing anything,
Yeah,
we have all these injury star players on the IR on the that are always hurt.
yeah.
If we can get something for them and build this team for Trey in the future, I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's another one too, Shark, because there's a lot of teams that are doing well who need some help at slot corner, and K1 is good when he's healthy, he can
Yeah,
play. Like so, somebody like Tampa Bay or somebody come a calling or like I don't know Kansas City. Hey, I need a corner because they need some help.
yeah,
So if Kansas City calls, hey, let me give you a fourth for K1 Williams, I'm taking it. He's on a
yeah,
1 year deal. He's over 30. Get rid of him. I'll get rid of all these guys. Give me some draft capital and then move on and then play all the like you said, if we lose against Chicago, I'm playing every single rookie on this roster.
yeah,
There's no time to wait. We're gonna then at that point we're 2-5. And if Kyle thinks that we're not out of the playoff hunt yet or in the playoff bubble, he's crazy
yeah,
because I mean it'll take a miracle for like if they start Trey in Arizona, it'd be a miracle for him just to go out there and run off a bunch of wins because I don't expect it. I expect him to struggle. I feel like we're gonna go like 8-9 is gonna be our final record. That's what I think if we're lucky. So yeah, so if we have something like that, that's what I'm doing. I'm playing all the I'm playing Ambry Thomas, I'm playing Diarmuid Lenore, I'm playing Sermon, Aaron Banks. All of them are getting burned because
yeah,
there's no reason why you should sit these guys on the bench. You need to see what you have on your roster before the draft and free agency comes up next year.
yep. I completely agree. Um, so let's talk about Chicago a little bit. Our starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, is going to have over 100 people in attendance.
Hmm.
Um, this is the place, I believe, that he started his first game for us, right? Against Chicago.
Was it?
Yep,
I don't remember.
yep.
Was it?
So I think if he plays poorly, this will be a great place to close out his career with us as well. Um, what are you thinking? What are you feeling about Chicago?
Mhm. Well, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I wouldn't care about Jimmy's feelings. I'd be a jerk. If he sucks at halftime, I'm pulling him and he'll be benched in front of all 100 people that was there to see him. I'm benching him and putting Trey in. I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he'll play a full game. They're saying that Trey might get some snaps. At this point, I'm just like, look. I mean, of course, I'd like to see Trey get in there, but I feel like him getting there for 2 and 3 snaps does nothing for him. I feel like it's a joke,
Yeah,
and the plays that they usually call for him are trash anyway. So just let Jimmy go in there. But what I'm afraid of is if we go in there and Jimmy plays well, he'll be starting again in Arizona against Arizona. But um, I don't know. I mean, I know we're gonna talk about our predictions, but I like our chances just because I think Chicago might have a worse offense than we do. Um, he had Justin Fields had 6 turnovers last week.
yeah,
He had three fumbles that he lost, and he threw 3 picks. So, and that offensive line is horrible. Like probably one of the worst we're going to see all year. So I think our defense will get after it. At least our D line. So I feel like we'll probably end up with like 3 or 4 sacks. But it all depends on whose defense comes out to play. Because I don't think the offense is really going to do anything. In my opinion, I think the offenses are both going to be stagnant, and there might be like a lucky play from Jimmy to like Debo or Ayuk or something. But other than that, I just don't see like I'm not excited to see this game. Let's say that I think it's going to be boring. Like I said, it's supposed to be raining. Whoever defense showed up is going to do good, but I don't know. That's pretty much my opinion on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only hope that Jimmy has is that their D line, nobody's playing.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I mean, hope I would hope that Jimmy, would. I mean, but I mean, at the end of the day, Jimmy can stand back there with a clean pocket all day long, and
He's
if
not
he's
gonna throw
not
the ball.
seeing, if he can't, see open receivers and he can't make the throws,
And then
then
and it doesn't matter. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter. You
Like
know,
Jamal, yeah, no, you're right. Jamal, if he's still on here, he made a good point the other day. We're talking about how you remember that block that Dwelly had on that defensive end. They were like, oh, he needed to hold his block a little bit longer. No,
yeah,
Jimmy doesn't have any pocket awareness because if he would have sidestepped to the left just a few times, he was like nobody within like 8 yards of this man other than the guy that was on Dwelly. He sidesteps a couple steps, he launches it. It's a 70, 80 yard touchdown to Ayuk.
right,
So he had to me the pocket was clean. It's just he just didn't make the decision quick enough to make that throw. So you're right. Like he can have a clean pocket, but will his decision making or does he trust even his own arm to make that throw? I think he has the weakest arm of all the starting quarterbacks. Him and Bridgewater are kind of neck and neck, but I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater over Jimmy, to be honest. Jimmy's just they were showing off his arm in practice today. They're like, oh, he throws a pretty good deep ball. It's like, man, get out of here. There was no pass rush. There was like, come on now. Like the man has a noodle arm and his decision making sucks. He just, like you said, he zones in. I feel like, and it's funny too. I feel like Kaepernick, like his last year when he was with us. Remember when all he would do was zone in on Anquan Bolden? I
yeah,
feel like that's what Jimmy's doing with Debo. Like he zones in on him and doesn't see Sanu open or Dwelly, whoever the case may be, that are open running across the field for touchdowns, and he's just like, "Oh, hike, okay, here, Debo." Like that's all
yeah,
he looks for.
yeah,
Sad, yeah.
yeah. Before he even hikes the ball, before he even gets the ball, he already knows he's going to Debo.
Hmm.
He's not looking to see, if anybody else is open.
Hmm.
I'm throwing to Debo. Give you the ball. Ball's going to Debo.
And it's sad too. I looked on the all 22 when he threw that ball to Debo in like quadruple coverage,
Yeah,
but he had all this. You could see Sanu running across the field, waving his hand like,
yeah,
"Hey, hey, I'm open." Like he's pretty much like, "I'm open." Didn't even see him.
yeah, exactly. And like I said last week, the team has not showed me anything to be hopeful about. So until they do, I'm not going to go into a week and be hopeful about them winning,
Hmm.
hopeful about them doing anything good.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we count on Shanahan to put together a complete game plan for a full 4 quarters of football?
No.
Can we count on these players to go out there and execute on the offense, defense, and special teams for 4 quarters of football? We haven't seen
Yeah.
it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
So
right.
until we see it, I'm not expecting any different.
No, yeah, you're right. And then I know like Mac, they said he hasn't practiced all week, so more than likely he's probably not going to play. But then Robert Quinn is on the COVID protocol, so
Yep.
he might not play. So you got your best defensive ends not even playing. We should be running the ball like crazy.
Yeah.
We should be running that ball, but who knows
Are
what
we going to
Kyle's
stick
going
to
to
the
do?
run?
I don't know.
We'll run
I
it
don't
for 100 yards in the first half, and then
and not
we'll
run it
give
at
them
all.
2 touches in the second half.
Hmm. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. And do you think you think Trey Sermon sees any snaps this week?
I don't know. Like that's such a weird thing too. It's like, is he even going to be active? Why even have him dress? Like, what? I don't know what he could have possibly done that's so wrong that has had Shanahan treat him like this, especially that we traded, we moved up for him.
Trade up for him, yeah.
Yeah, and so you obviously like the guy. We know what he can do, but it's like he's not even getting a chance to show that he can do anything.
Yeah, you're right. We always have trouble with dudes that we trade up for. It's like
Yeah,
it's like they see a player, oh, like you said, they traded up for Pettis, traded up for Ayuk. Although I'm still hopeful for him, but I'm saying like there seems like there's always struggles with the dudes they play up. They trade up for. Pettis, Ayuk, CJ Beathard. It's like like you said, Trey Sermon, like what's going on here? And it's just sad because it looks at you look stupid as a coach that you're playing a sixth round pick, an undrafted guy, and then when Jeff Wilson, he'll probably even see more snaps than Sermon. So you got Jeff Wilson and Hasty who aren't drafted, Elijah Mitchell who's a sixth round pick, but your third round pick that you traded up for can't get on the field.
And a fullback
Yeah,
that gets more carries.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, if I were to bet on an over and under, honestly, I would say under 5 carries for Sermon.
Mm, horrendous.
Until we can see that he's actually being utilized.
Hmm.
I wouldn't
and
count on
and then
anything
two,
else.
and then it's two, and then this is another thing that pisses me off. You look at thing that's going on. Like you said, like Kyle had like kind of a cryptid press conference where it seems like maybe Trey is going to be given the reins soon. Okay, JG. I don't think Cleveland takes that trade because of Baker Mayfield. I don't think they're going to be paying two quarterbacks that kind of money. That's just my opinion. And Odell seems like he's washed. But what you call it? What was I saying right now? Do you remember what I was talking about? Sorry.
No.
Oh, about Trey, about how like he had that cryptid press
Yeah.
conference where he's just like, oh, Trey played well enough, like seemed like if he was healthy he'd play. So the fact that one, you're thinking about playing Trey in the near future, Jimmy's injury history, he's still not getting any snaps with the first team. He's in there in practice all week playing scout team, acting like he's Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here? Like, you sitting here and you want to get your quarterback ready to be starting here in the next week or two, possibly 3 weeks. He's not getting any first team reps. You're treating him as like he's some practice squad player. Like, I saw one play where he was snapping the ball to Jimmy. He had the ball and he was snapping it to him. I was like, why is he snapping Jimmy the ball? Why isn't he taking reps?
Yeah.
He's snapping Jimmy the ball. Then this whole week, he's been playing with the scout team. Like, he's pretty much being used for the defense. Like to because he's acting like Justin Fields this week in practice, not getting any kind of meaningful reps. So if Jimmy goes down on Sunday, let's just say, Trey's not going to be ready. He's going to probably look like crap because he hasn't had any reps with the first team. This is just embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, have we heard? I don't know. Did Debo practice today? Like, are we
I,
expecting that he's even going to be playing?
I'm not really sure. I can't really answer. I think somebody said he was limited, but I'm not sure.
Because I'm thinking, like, if Debo's not active or he's hurt and can only play at a limited role, it's like, who's Jimmy going to be throwing to?
Yeah.
Is he gonna? Are they going to use Ayuk?
Yeah.
Or we're going to see Benjamin brought up and some crazy stuff like that.
And that's another player. I want to see Juwan Jennings use more.
Yeah.
I want to see him use more. He's a big body. He could probably help our receiving core just because he's so big. He makes the easy catches over the middle and stuff. Like, why isn't he being used? Like, I just don't get this regime. They just, they draft. It's funny. It's like you draft these players, but then you tell everybody and their mom that you don't trust them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to draft Aaron Banks, but no, I'm not going to play him. Ambry Thomas, nope. You know what? Like, what are you guys doing? You had, you could have picked anybody who was left on the board. Those are the guys you chose, whether it's first round to seventh round.
Yep.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings was a seventh round. You could have picked anybody who was on the board, but he was the one you chose.
Yeah.
So you saw something in him. You saw something that you thought he could be beneficial to this offense. Yet he gets no burn. But then you're sitting here having high hopes for Jalen Hurd, who can't see the field because, he was amazing in one preseason game and had 2 touchdowns 3 years ago. This is it's head scratching. I just, like you said, I'm lost for words, Miriah. I just do not get it at all.
Yeah, and it's like, Shanahan never sits up there and says, a good word about any of those people that we're talking about, and it's like, finally you heard him, refer to Lance as, he's the future, this is going to be, his team, And it's like that's the most I've heard him say about Lance, anything in a positive manner,
Yeah,
about anything. It's like he said more about Justin Fields
I
in
was
his
just about
press
to say that.
conference than I've ever heard him say about Lance this entire
I
time.
was just about to say that. Oh, I really liked him during the draft process. He has a strong arm. He's smart, great decision maker. He can use his legs to be like.
He
I
can
haven't
make
heard you
all
say
the
he can make
throws.
all the throws. You haven't said anything positive like that about Trey. But
No.
you're sitting here praising the quarterback who's not even on your roster,
Yeah.
who you had the chance to pick, but you chose not to. Like I said, that's what I'm saying. It's like these are the guys you pick are the ones that you decided to roll with, but yet every chance you get, you sit there and you talk negative about them. There's nothing positive that goes on. It's just yeah, it's crazy. Trey
Yeah.
Lance first round, yeah, you're very much
Um,
Debbie. Yeah, especially with that old line for sure.
what's your prediction?
I was wrong last week. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna pick the Niners again, even though I picked them last week and they lost. I'm gonna go with them again. I'm gonna say that we win. And you know what? Just because everybody's predicting it to be, because of the weather and stuff, it's going to be low scoring. I'm gonna pick a higher score. I'm gonna say 27-21 Niners.
Okay. Like I said, until they show me otherwise, I'm picking the Bears to win 2017. Um, I mean, I'm not expecting that the Bears are going to go out there and score on us like crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that they've been averaging 11 or 14 points or something ridiculously low like that. So
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that they're going to come out and change. But um, I'm not expecting that we're going to be able to put up more points than them either.
Hmm.
So um, I think it's possible that the points that we do get come from the defense.
Hmm.
I'm not
Possibly.
expecting Jimmy to go out there and score points for us. It
Yeah.
looks like he can't do anything past the scripted plays. Our offense can't do anything. So I'm not
Yep.
expecting him to be able to score points.
No, that's a good point, and that's the only reason why I picked 27 because I really think our defensive line is going to get after Justin Fields, which I think is going to lead to him making some mistakes. So I think that's why I said I think we get about 4 sacks. I think we get Boza probably get a couple. I think we get a total of 4 sacks. And honestly think we get an interception. So I think in saying that, I think the defense makes plays that get us the ball back and puts us in good field position. I think that's the only reason why we score 27. Because I feel like there's going to be some turnovers that are going to be in our territory. It's going to make us easier to get on the board. So, um, and I'm also, and I know it's going to sound funny because we said that he stares down Debo, but I really think Ayuk might have a decent game. I think Ayuk, he might. I don't. I'm not. I don't think he catches a lot of passes. I think maybe 4 passes, but I think he breaks one for long. I think he gets like a 50, 60 yard touchdown or something. So,
I would love
but
to see that.
for sure. But and it's funny too. Everybody kept replaying that call. Remember that touchdown he had last year against the Eagles, where they threw him a screen pass and he
Yeah.
made people miss and he hurdled that guy. I haven't seen him been used like that once this year.
Right.
So it's like you cannot sit there and look at film and saw what he did and not be like, well, you know what, he did this. He broke all these He broke, he made all these guys miss and scored a 60-yard touchdown. Let's try it again sometimes. You haven't tried that once, but then you do the Kyle check sneak under center like 3 or 4 times where people know it's coming.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, I mean, because Shanahan sat up there yesterday and said Ayuk's not where he was last year.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know how they're expecting that they can even know that
Uh,
or get him to where he was if he's not getting any play.
And the fact that when I watched the game the second time and made some pauses and stuff, I beg to differ because the man was open 80% of the game.
Yeah.
Every time he was out there, he was open. Like he could have got at least 2 touchdowns if we had a quarterback to get him the ball.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I mean, says, do you think Kyle Shanahan can develop Trey?
No, I'm scared honestly. Like I had mentioned this before, probably before you came on. Like I just don't trust the decision making of his organization. Like I'm worried that Kyle's going to ruin this kid. Like I like, we talked about the game against the Colts and the way we started off. That was a beautiful. game plan or drive plan, because his game plan for the whole game wasn't as good, but that drive that he did was perfect for Trey. And what made me mad was you look at Jimmy, majority of the game he was under center where Trey is comfortable, but yet we play Arizona, he's in shotgun most of the
Yep.
time. Like, why don't you put people in position to succeed and for the game that they know best? Trey is an under center quarterback. He played an NFL type of offense at North Dakota State, yet using him as a gadget guy. So I don't know. I mean, I can't really answer that. I'm scared, honestly. I'm scared that he is going to ruin this kid. He hasn't really developed a quarterback. Like, he traded up for CJ Beathard, thinking he can develop him into something, and he's not even on the roster 4 years later. So no. Well, to answer your question, I'm gonna say yes. I'm optimistic, but it scares me that he won't develop him correctly. So
Yeah, I mean, I want to have hope that he can, but up until this point, he hasn't shown us that he can. And like you said, we haven't seen him do it with anybody else, prior to this. And I mean, are you doing what's best for Trey right now?
mhm.
It doesn't look
No,
like it.
no.
You're not doing what's best for his development.
Hmm.
You can sit up there in the press conference and say you are all day, but him playing Justin Fields in practice isn't doing what's best for Trey.
Yeah,
So,
the snaps are meaningless. And here's what's funny about it. On that plane ride, when Kyle was drawing up plays for Trey, where are they? Because you had a chance to implement that when he played Arizona, and I saw nothing.
yep,
I saw a game plan that looked like it was deer in the headlights. So yeah, that's just like I said. It's like when you sit there and you heard that. You heard that what this was before the draft. It was like what they were on a plane ride from, so it was coming back from Justin Fields pro day. And he was like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm drawing up plays that I
yeah,
could use for Trey." So you've been thinking about this kid for at least 8 months, you know, but you haven't done anything. Written on a napkin at a rest stop.
they blew out the window.
It blew out the window. John V. Teran, you're scaring me. Well, I'm just keeping it real, brother. I mean, think about his track record, man. And like I said, I mean, and it was funny because everybody says, well, he developed Kirk Cousins. No, he didn't. Kirk Cousins
No,
didn't. Kirk Cousins didn't come into his zone until Kyle went to Atlanta.
yeah,
So he didn't develop Kirk Cousins either. I mean, I'm sure he played a part in it, like he knows what he can do, but he didn't really develop him. But I really think they need to get rid of Rich Scangarello. He's a horrendous quarterback coach, and he's only there. They only brought him back because that's who Jimmy wanted. Get rid of him. There's so many quarterback like somebody said. Kyle had that guy John Beck go and work with these quarterbacks.
yeah,
Why don't you hire him to be your quarterback's coach? Like, I don't get it. You hire this dude who has no track record of developing quarterbacks. You bring him back just because that's who Jimmy wanted. But what has he done for Jimmy?
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, but that seems like that's Kyle's thing. He brings in people that are homies or homies of a homie or, whatever. It doesn't matter if they're performing. I mean, we got Wes Welker in there. What's he doing?
yeah. And that's the thing, Mariah. It's like, I understand you have your boys or whatever, but I have some friends that I love to death. But if I was starting a business, I wouldn't hire them
Yep.
because they don't take care of business. So you have to be able to pick and choose your battles. Like, I don't care if Mike McDaniels is your boy. And I think what we've been talking about too is the thing with Kyle is like, him being a first time head coach has way too much on his plate.
Yeah.
There is no exactly Pine Nor family and business. Like I said, I have a couple best friends that we kick it. I have their back. That if I say, "Hey, I need your help," they're coming, and same and vice versa. "Hey, T, I need you. I'm on my way." But if I was starting a business, they would not be on my payroll. So you have to be able to separate that. So the thing with Kyle, it's like you look at him, it's like, he's sitting here, he has his hands in the draft process, in the scouting process, free agency process, defensive coordinator, wondering what D'Amico Ryan is going to do, worrying about a offensive game plan. Dude, that's too much. Everybody
Yep.
says, well, Bill Belichick, like Bill Belichick's smart. He handles the draft process, head coaches, but he has a D coordinator that he doesn't get involved with. He has what's that guy's name? Josh McDaniels, who he lets him do his thing. If Mike McDaniels has been with you for over a decade, like he's followed Kyle everywhere he's went.
Yep.
If this dude has been with you for a decade and knows the playbook like the back of your hand, like the back of his hand, why don't you trust this man to call plays? That doesn't make sense to me. If you and I were riding together for a decade and I got promoted and say, hey Mariah, me and you've been looking at this playbook for together for 10 years. I'm gonna trust you as my OC to go ahead and do this. I'm gonna leave it up to you to put a game plan together, to you to play calls because you've seen how I handle business for 10 years. So now you go in there and you do that. And I'm not gonna be like, oh, you do it my way. You put your own kinks into it. I
Yeah.
want to add this, add that, whatever the case may be. But it seems like Kyle just doesn't want to give up that responsibility. So Jed Jordan needs to grow a pair, and he needs to hit Kyle up. Be like, look, what you guys have done for these past 5 years doesn't work. I would love for you to remain my head coach, but please let me hire a GM who knows the business, who has a track record of putting a team together. Let him do his job and our scouting team do their job, and then you worry about being a head coach, and that's it. And I'm sure Kyle would probably succeed if he did that. But the fact that he has too much on his plate just doesn't make sense to me. And if Kyle ain't with it, I'd get rid of him
Yeah.
because what you've done, what I proposed to you in 2017, and I'm sure Kyle went in there and sounded so smart, like a genius, and I'm gonna do this, that, and the other, but it hasn't worked. So humble yourself and say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and handle a GM who knows the ins and outs of this business, who've been scouting for over a decade or two, because this is my first time ever having to do it. So let somebody do that. You let me handle the play, but my thing is, will Kyle do that? Is he humble enough to be able to take the to take away some of the reins and delegate? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think we see Kyle do that as long as he's here. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to take power away from somebody at their current place,
especially
Like I
somebody
could
who's not
see
humble. Yeah,
yeah, I could see Kyle, once he leaves here, becoming a head coach somewhere else and the owner of that team not giving him that much power from the beginning. And hopefully then Kyle, can become a great head coach.
yeah.
But I don't have hope that that's going to happen while he's
And say,
here.
and to me, that's not a real man. To me, that's why I say that I question his leadership. Because if it was me in that situation, I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna sit there. I'm not gonna sit there and turn down full responsibility.
Yeah.
Jed York offered me a job and say you got full reins. I'm taking it. But at some point, and it's funny because Kyle has such a ego. You would think he'd want to be put in a position to succeed. So if it was me, and I know I'm not Kyle, but if it was me, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, man, Taryn, you screwed this team up. You made some bad choices, blah blah blah. I'm gonna be okay with that. You know what? You're right, Jed. I made some poor decisions. I'm gonna step because I'm humble like that.
Yeah.
I just don't think if he has that mentality to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't shown that he is.
yeah,
He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't nothing. I mean, in Kyle's eyes, Kyle's perfect.
yeah,
I really believe that
I
he
do too.
thinks that he's the greatest coach, the greatest play caller, the
We'll see.
greatest, mastermind of football.
Yeah,
That's
because
how he
everybody's
acts.
yeah, you're right. Because everybody's always said with Kyle, they said that Kyle's the way he calls plays, there's always somebody that's schemed open.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it's one of those things where it doesn't work correctly, it's not his fault. What if the defense made an adjustment and saw what was coming?
Right.
But if it doesn't work correctly, you didn't run the right route. You
Yep.
missed this block, whatever the case may be. He will never own up and say, "Oh, I called a bad game." You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's
even after the defense makes adjustments and Kyle doesn't, and they make adjustments and figure out everything he's about to do. Well, he doesn't make any adjustments, but yet he'll still blame that on the players for not executing.
oh for sure.
It's like, no, you didn't make the necessary adjustments that you needed to make, and we had the players from the defense come out this week and tell us that. we're glad Kyle didn't stick with what was working because
Yeah,
we couldn't stop it.
yeah.
It's like he doesn't do what he needs to do.
And how many times do you have to hear that as a head coach play caller and know that you're not the problem? If
Yeah.
somebody said it once, okay, cool. But you had Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu from the Chiefs say that. Oh, I'm glad that Kyle went away from running the football
Yep.
because then it gave us a chance to come back. Darius Leonard said it when he went to the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. You had people come out and the Patriots said, "Man, I'm glad that Kyle went away from what he was doing to us in the first half, being up 28-3. It got us a chance to get back in this game." So the simple fact that you've had people from two Super Bowls come out and say that they're glad you went away from your game plan. Then this last game, a Pro Bowl linebacker saying that pretty much the team was lost and didn't know how to stop them, and was glad that Kyle made adjustments and changed it in their favor, basically.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, you're not hearing this. You don't think you're a problem if you got three people, if you got three different occasions telling you that they're glad that you went away from your original game plan?
Yeah, it's like he makes the opposite adjustments that need to be made. It's like he goes away from what's working, and
Yeah.
instead of, switching it around, oh, no, I'm going to switch it away from what's working and we'll make it easier for them. It's like you're supposed to be making it easier for your own team, dumbass.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I want to be optimistic. I want things to work better. I'm still faithful. I want everything. And it's sad too. Since 1999, so in 22 years, we've had 6 winning seasons. Embarrassed.
Yeah.
So and I want this team to do bad so bad because we have always been the gold standard of football. Teams used to want to come here. I remember watching an interview with Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson said Rod Woodson was like, yeah, when I was playing in my playing days, everybody wanted to play for San Francisco.
Yep.
Everybody wanted to go to the Niners. Now it's like we're a laughing stock, and and honestly, I feel like if I'm a rookie, I'm not optimistic about being drafted by this team
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be sitting there like, man, I've been looking at their track record. The rookies don't get any playing time. They dog us out. I wouldn't even want to come. I wouldn't even want to come here, and that's why I worry about the free agency situation because with Kyle's ego, I think we had talked about this where if Trey gets in there, and he shows some kind of progression where he's looking good, like players see how other players progress. And if defensive players who are coming up on a contract are looking at our team like, man, I like this Trey Lance kid. These last 8 games he played, he's done X, Y, and Z. I've seen him progress. All we need is a couple pieces. This is a Super Bowl roster if I get there. So if I'm a corner and I know they need a corner, I'm coming here. But if we sit here and we start Jimmy the rest of the season, Trey's going to be exactly where he is right now because he's not getting first team reps. We're going to
Yep.
be in a funk. And then instead of a 1 year window of being a Super Bowl or playoff team, it's going to be 2.
Yeah. And that was, like Josh Norman, even though he's hasn't been great, but like, he waited. The same thing. He waited, and his agent finally said, okay, San Francisco called, that's a good defense, they're a Super Bowl team. That was the hope going into this season. But like you said, now that players are sitting back and watching what a mess this is, they're not going to have that same reaction next offseason,
Oh, no.
next free agency. Those players aren't picking up the phone and saying, yeah, send me to San Francisco so I can get hurt in freaking 2 weeks and, like
Yeah.
everybody else, and the team can be shitty.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're going to end this soon, but yeah, if I'm Jed York, you need to reevaluate your whole organization. You need to look at everything, like I said, when it comes down to the medical staff, because something ain't right. Something's not right. We have way too many injuries on this team, and I just don't get it. And Baltimore Ravens are the perfect example of like an offense that can still focus and still have structure when all their running backs get hurt. J.K. Dobbins got hurt, and I forgot the other guy. Oh, Gus Edwards, their main 2 running backs.
Yep.
Everybody's like, I mean, they were picking up running backs like we were with corner, trying to
Yeah.
get on bargain bins, but yet they're functioning. You know why? Because even though they don't have a good running game, you have in Lamar Jackson who scares you with his legs and then has learned to be a passer.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what our issue is right now. And if Kyle's not saying that, if Kyle's not looking at Lamar Jackson, how he's progressed, Josh Allen, how he's progressed, then he needs to go because I'm all about team. And if he's hindering this team, I don't want him here. He needs to look in the mirror and look at his mistakes, like we talk, me and JV and all the fellas talk about. A real man owns up to his mistakes
Yeah,
and will do anything possible to correct it for the good of the team. And that's just, to me, that's not what Kyle's doing.
right. Yeah, I mean, win or lose this week against Chicago, if Jimmy plays like shit, his ass needs to be on the bench.
Period. I don't care how
And
much he's making.
that should be it. We should not see him, barring injury, ever again play for this team.
Absolutely.
And if he's gonna come out and play like shit, and you're gonna continue to put him out there as our starting quarterback, I mean, you already got booed off the field at home.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Now, can you imagine if Trey Lance would have been active? If he would have been sitting on that bench behind Jimmy and Jimmy would have been out there playing like that, what that crowd would have sounded like?
Oh my
It's only
gosh.
it's only going to get louder.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy has lot. I was talking to my wife earlier today, and I was like,
Mhm.
going into this season, there was probably 70. It felt like anyway that there was like 70% Jimmy fans, and 30% of us, Trey fans.
Mhm.
I feel like after this last game that there's about 90% people that want Trey to start and
Mhm.
10% fans still hanging on to Jimmy.
Hang on to Jimmy. Yep, that's true.
And it's only going to be a matter of time, if not already, before it's only those 10% of fans hanging on to Kyle and John.
Yeah, and it's funny too because before the season, I was so excited that with stuff kind of getting better with COVID and stuff like that. I was like, man, I was looking forward to going to a game in person. You know what I'm saying? And then so I was gonna go to the Colts game that just passed, which I'm glad I didn't because I was gonna buy, but work. I had to do some stuff for work, so it didn't allow it. But I almost bought tickets to fly to Ohio to go to that Cincinnati game. I'm like, oh, I'll go to
Mhm.
the Bengals game. No, I was gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm not buying those tickets.
yeah, that's why I laughed because that's going
Yeah,
to be a joke of a game
yeah,
now.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not buying those tickets. Like I was like, oh, even like up to the after the Seahawks game, I thought about it. I'm like, okay, and then we lost to Arizona, and I saw the way that Kyle did Trey. I was like, I'm not buying those tickets. I'm like, I'm not going to spend my hard-earned money to fly over there and go to the Bengals game if they're playing like this. Like, and even if they were bad, if I saw effort and I saw at least them making sense, it'd be different. But the fact is, like, they're sitting there and we're getting lied to and these questionable decisions. I'm not spending my money on a game until I see a better effort, and that does not make me less than faithful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be going to the last game of the season in LA against the
Mhm.
Rams, and it's like, number one, if number 10 is still the quarterback of this team come that game, it's going to be very hard for me to walk into another team's stadium if he's the quarterback and we're still looking like this.
Yep.
At least we could be losing, and if Trey's out there, I'm going
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
because I'm going. It's going to be exciting regardless, But yeah, you're making us question spending money to go out there and see what you've been putting on the field. And like you said, that
Exactly.
doesn't make us any less faithful.
Yep. Totally agree.
And like Pinor said, and like I've been saying, until Kyle shows different, until this team shows different, I mean, there's nothing to be hopeful for,
That's
you know?
true. Hey, JV, are you going to be at that Bengals game or what? I forgot he lives in Ohio. I forgot about that. So maybe he was going to be there. But yeah, I thought about it too. I was like, oh, Ohio would be cool. And yeah, like $300 a ticket. Yeah,
Yeah.
no way. And the Bengals are good, so I'll be paying their prices. So I'm sure the tickets are more expensive there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, before we say goodbye for today, um, we were doing the giveaway for the Jimmy G bobblehead, but I'm not gonna make anybody have to take Jimmy G's. Jimmy G home if they don't want him. So it'll be up to the winner whether they want the Jimmy G bobblehead or the Nick Bosa Funko Pop. Knowing who this person is, I'm going to guess that they don't want the Jimmy G bobblehead. But JV, you're the winner. If you can DM me your address and choose what you want, and I'll get it in the mail for you. I appreciate your support and everybody else's support that has showed it from the time that I even talked about starting this channel up until now. Melissa is finally here.
Hey, Melissa. What's up? You like that camel hat? Appreciate that.
But yeah, Teran's going to be on vacation next week, so it'll just be me and a mystery guest. But until next time,
I wish I was on vacation. I got to go out of town for work. Yeah, I wish.
Out of town, regardless.
Out of town, yep. Tennessee, here I come.
But yeah, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. TL, thank you for being here with me. I appreciate it. Till next time, let's go Niners.
All right, family, take care. Have a good evening.